Pilgrimage started with my uncle dying, really, and my uncle died and my mother was going through his things, and she found a whole load of papers relating to their time as a family in India. She was born in Calcutta in 1933 and was there until she was 3.5 and came back to England until the outbreak of the Second World War, when they thought it was safe for her to move back to India. So she went back to see her father in India, to Darjeeling, I think, with her mother, where she was at school at least until she was 8 when her mother died. They both had cholera and her mother died from cholera. She stayed in India until she was about 13, until her dad died, and then came back to England, where she carried on at boarding school and had a very different life. She travelled all over the world with my father, but she wanted to go back to India. When her brother died, she found pictures of her father's gravesite, and she suddenly thought, having never gone back to India, at almost 80, she suddenly thought, I want to do this now, and asked my sister and I if we would travel with her and take her back to India. So we did. So my sister couldn't go because she was ill, so I took my mother to India, and we travelled, did all the sites that she'd never seen before. I'd been to India 20 years before, but we went to the Taj Mahal and we went to Agra and Jaipur, but most of all we travelled back and went to Shimla to visit the graveyard of where her father is buried. We didn't find the actual grave because the grave would have been desecrated. It was a big marble slab. We had pictures of it, but we found the area of land where he would have been buried, so we were able to mark his burial place and to just my mother to sort of put her feelings about her father and her abandonment really by him, because she was very much pushed around to peace really, and also to enjoy and see what she'd got from India as a little girl. She suddenly realised why she loved wearing really bright clothes when no one else did, and she thought that maybe this was because seeing in India that's her influences and things. So I took maybe over 1,000 pictures when I was in India with her, and here in Pilgrimage you can see just 12 of the pictures that I've chosen to show, and they're a range of buildings and details of buildings and some people and some landscapes. And then I've also done some ceramic and plaster work where I've taken a very simple paisley pattern that I've used both impressing a stamp into the porcelain, and then I've also used another piece of porcelain to take an impression from that, so it's the reverse. Which I really like, this whole development of texture really. Texture and the way that the light falls on the porcelain, creating the pattern, and actually a colour of its own. When light shines on it, when it's bright sunlight, it's really different. I've also made plaster casts from impressing into clay, making mono impressions really. So I press into clay and then I fill the clay mould with plaster to create a textural bas-relief really. And I haven't washed quite all of the clay out, so you have this old world feel, and sort of wanting to get something of the old Raj, or blending something of 21st century England or India with the sort of medieval and old. And then also I've made a set of porcelain vessels which are about shape, and just very simply a circle, and how a circle is then developed into shape just by pinching. 2 pinches can make an arch which is very reflective of other shapes within Eastern and England, but Eastern things. If you look at the paisley pattern I was using before, how that's we think of it as being William Morris, but actually it's quite an Eastern design. And you take it further and you pinch it more, and that also is a design from the arches and shapes that are used again and again and again within Indian architecture and design. So I just was playing with that within the porcelain.